Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Happiness Podcast, the podcast about happiness, empowerment, and self love for self healers. I'm your host, Stephanie Yael, and I'm so excited that you're here today. Hey, friends. Yeah, where to start? So, this is my first episode. It just came to me. It's shortly before midnight on July 5th, 2022. I have no idea when this is going to be airing. I hope soon. Anyhow, you guys, this just came to me. I've been wanting to do a podcast forever, and I just had this idea. It just came to me like a download that I've been waiting for, because I wasn't really sure what was my mission to talk about, and I finally hacked it. One of my biggest struggles has always been to be happy, to feel joy in my heart, to be able to be happy, to be able to feel and express joy. So I am here today to share my story and some of the learnings and generally just ways to be happier in life. And to me, the first understanding I have gained is that in order to be happy, you have to have had the experience of the opposite if you really truly want to feel happiness. And so don't feel discouraged if you're here and you're not happy at all. It's actually a good sign, because your soul chose the opposite. So therefore, you could then, later on in your life, really cherish and fully enjoy your happiness. And it's about, I've just channeled the law on duality. And the law of duality says that if you want to experience, if your soul is here to experience a certain experience, then you most likely will go and experience the opposite, the complete opposite first, like the extreme opposite. It depends on how much your soul wanted to experience this experience. And so in my case, I have experienced the opposite of joy. I have had an absence of joy in 33 years of my life. And I'm not saying that I didn't have joyful moments or good moments or successful moments in my life. It's just I couldn't feel them, if you know what I mean. I couldn't feel them in my heart. It always felt like something was blocking the emotion from really being felt, and my mind would come in and say, well, isn't this perfect? Why can't you be happy? I traveled the world. I've seen some of the most beautiful places, but I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel content. And sometimes I would beat myself up and be like, what else do I have to do in order to feel the happiness? And yeah, I've had a really hard and sad childhood, and now it all makes sense, because if I didn't have that, I would never be able to experience this bliss and joy and contentment and fulfillment that I'm experiencing right now. I'm only in the beginning stages of this. I'm so excited to see what else is in store for me, because thanks to the law of duality, I've understood that, the deeper you go, the higher you will soar, The more you go into the darkness, the more light you will be able to experience if you are on an ascension path, if you're doing the inner work. If you're doing the inner work to heal and tip the scale into the opposite. And now, don't get me wrong, this has been some years I have been intensively healing, and now I'm finally getting out of it, and it's like the dawning of a new day. It's like seeing sunshine for the first time in my life, And that's one of my sharings, that if you're finding yourself in a really painful situation, in a desperate moment, not just moment, like a moment that's been lasting for a lifetime, and if your heart is broken and it just hurts so much, and you're just unhappy and depressed, and you feel like the world is being against you, and the world is being mean to you, and you have had a lot of bad luck. Although you all also had good moments, but like the overall feeling for your life is that it is hard, that it is not happy, that it is sad, heavy, never-ending problems and struggles. I'm here to tell you this is only because you are also meant to experience the opposite. Because otherwise you wouldn't be in that, otherwise you wouldn't be going so deep into the opposite direction, because your soul is like, okay, like I always see my soul making this soul plan. Okay, I am gonna be happy, but in order to experience the real happiness, the well-deserved happiness, the happiness that only comes when you have been in the really in the shit, like I see my soul being like, okay, I'm gonna choose some really hard moments, some tough hardship, and some really agonizing childhood experiences, and then I'm gonna turn my life around and be able to experience the flip side of all this darkness and pain. And I think it's not spoken, there isn't enough information about this, because when I was in this moments of deep despair, and there have been many, I'm telling you, I didn't have a funny childhood. It was accompanied by many heavy emotions, and as an empath I would soak up all of the emotions of my environment, and unfortunately there weren't very many happy emotions. So so that was that, and I carried all of this heaviness into my teenage years and into all of my 20s and the beginning of my 30s. And of course people speak about healing and how healing is going to bring you liberation, but they never really speak about how much they had to go through the shit and how deep in the darkness they were before they experienced this healing. And maybe it's not the same for everybody, but if you have had a hard time and this resonates with you, this is absolutely for you, because what I was missing in these times is the light at the end of the tunnel, that somebody would speak openly about their healing journey, because what I saw was people who were healed and happy, and what I made up from this was that you're either happy or you're either sad and depressed, but there is no in between, and there is no bridge, and there is no way to get from depressed to happy. But this is completely not accurate. It's not true, because again, I'm telling you, the unhappy you are, the more your soul actually signed up for happiness. So let that sink in, because that's a heavy one, and it's kind of a thing to wrap your head around this. The more you are suffering right now, the more your soul just wants to experience happiness and freedom and liberation and joy. And I want to come back to the law of duality, because it's, we live in this dualistic world, black and white, right and wrong, and hot and cold, day and night. There's one side of the coin, and then there's the flip side, and it's always both exist. I think that's the key message here. It's not either or. It's the fact that in order for one side to exist, the other side has to exist as well. So don't be discouraged if your outer circumstances aren't what you would like them to be, because that's only an indicator that you're here to experience the opposite. And therefore, you had to go through this. Because again, if you have never experienced the night, you would not appreciate the day as much as you do. If you've never had rainy days, you wouldn't appreciate the sun as much as you do. if it was never cold, you would take the sunny, hot weather for granted. I don't know where you guys live. We have 4 seasons here, and whenever it's winter, I mean, I love summer anyways, but so whenever it is winter, it makes me miss those warm, long summer nights even more. It's cold and it gets dark early. And I know there is the flip side of this, but I don't have it right now. It's just a fact that we appreciate things more if we have experienced the flip side of it. And yes, so I have come to this conclusion that my soul has made a really crazy plan to soar into happiness by deep diving into depression, suicidal thoughts, and really heavy emotions that would cloud my self-worth, that would just make me feel like I wasn't worthy of anything, and just a lack of self-love in order to experience all of this and then flip it around and go into the other direction and then celebrate that, like celebrate it and savor it in every moment and make podcasts about it and share with people and teach people, and just bringing more awareness to the fact that there isn't either or. It's not that you, because you were born a certain way, you have to live in the same way. Actually, no. Just understand that it's probably that you are wanting to live on the other side of this, It's the same when you're poor. Your soul probably wanted to get really rich. And I mean, I can go into a whole new topic, how we forget about our soul plan when we incarnate, how obviously it doesn't make sense when you're in it. But I don't want to overstretch this podcast. And my mission is just to share that it is possible to go from one extreme to the other, or somewhere in between, from somewhere in between to the other in between. And that's it for today, you guys. I hope you're gonna tune back in for the next episode of how to be happy and how to just live the best life that you can in this amazing, exciting times that we are creating for ourselves and for humanity. I'm sending you much love. Enjoy the rest of your day, of your evening. Give yourself some credit for the work that you're doing, and just know that you're magical light beings that are here to have an experience, and the experience you want to have is in your heart. Your heart knows what you want to experience. So even if you're not from if you're not share the same background, maybe your childhood wasn't as sad and heavy, but you're still here to share a message, experience something that you want to talk about, and study a certain field. I always see our souls as little scientists, and they're here to study. And what are you studying? What is your area? Where did you dig and dive really deep and experience the opposite of what you would like to? That's a really good indicator what is actually here for you in this lifetime. The opposite of what you're experiencing. The opposite of what brought you struggle and pain and hardship. I'll leave you with that, and I speak to you, lovely souls, soon. Bye bye.